Me, female 38, and husband 38M, married since 2009, and we have a preteen daughter. Last 3 years have been really tough on us because of my husband's bad working conditions that started to affect his mental health. I noticed signs of burnout and depression and brought up these concerns regularly to him. He was very dismissive and refused to see his situation and refused therapy. He started becoming distant and often isolated himself and was regularly butting heads with our daughter. He eventually told me that he had met a woman at work. Their relationship was not, according to him, physical, but he was in love with her and felt that she was his soulmate and best friend. He said he was very sorry and that he could not decide which woman he would ultimately be happiest with. He spoke out about this at home whilst I was having the toughest time of my life. I cried alone over my dreams and plans, everything we had together. He also told me that in order to clear his head, he would need to leave the house and spend some time on his own. That coworker had offered him her spare room, and he was going to take it. I asked for his help organizing the rest of the school year as I was commuting, and I promised him that as soon as the school year was over, I would look for an apartment closer to my work and me, and our daughter will move out, and he can have the house to himself for his healing. I found an apartment almost immediately, and we moved. He visited us 1 weekend a month and brought his chaos with him every time. The new home had become a safe haven that we cherished, and he took it over as soon as he appeared, and it felt like I wasn't breathing until he finally left. After 6 months of living like this, I decided I had given things enough time to mend, and they had not. I was still hurt and bitter, and he was still cagey about what was going on and what his ultimate decision really was. I told him I was done living like this and that I wanted a divorce. He absolutely lost his chute and left and drove back to our old house in the middle of the night just to get away from me. A week later, he told me the coworker is pregnant, and he was angry that I didn't want to even try to fix our marriage. Since then, he has gotten increasingly more hostile and accusatory in his communication with me. He blames me for breaking up the marriage and abandoning him during his crisis. He says he was not himself and has no idea why he did the things he did, but that I was the one who left. He claims I was no help when he needed me and that I had clearly mentally abandoned our relationship long before, more than 3 years prior. He tells me I'm cold and calculating and clearly not the person he thought I was. I understand that he is not well. He finally did go to therapy. I explained a lot of his actions with that in mind at first. So, am I the idiot he claims I have become, taking his daughter away and leaving? Now for a few important comments. Commenter, you took your daughter and yourself from an unstable living situation. Sure, maybe it'd have become stable tomorrow, but you gave it a lot of time. His mental health crisis may mean he's out of his mind. But either he's still responsible for his actions or he's not. If he is, you left him because of his actions. Seems reasonable. If he's not responsible for his actions, then you left him because he's deeply in crisis for an extended period, and you can't continue to live that way, or have your daughter live that way. I'm curious and concerned about your daughter's experience of this. Those are the people my heart goes out to most, your daughter and your husband's new child, because everyone else, AH or not, was some form of a volunteer for this. The kids get no choice but all the consequences, but I don't think leaving your husband while he's in crisis is unacceptable, especially given the long duration and terrible experience for you of that crisis. Not the idiot. Honestly, it's our daughter I'm mostly worried about in all this. He clearly has changed a lot, no matter how much his mental health plays into it. Everything we used to be so much of one mind has changed for him. He will not keep his opinions to himself when our daughter visits him. And honestly, I'm left to pick up the pieces when she comes back and slowly opens up to what his father has been talking during his visit. I'm really trying my best not to ever speak ill of him in front of her. And I basically keep my family in the dark because I don't want them to have an attitude towards him that could reflect on her. He seems to have no such issues, as I'm slowly finding out. He chews me up in private conversations, which I can deal with, but he also says stuff like, After your mother kicked me out, I can't help you anymore. And all I want is to have our family back to our daughter. And I feel that's horribly unfair. He's really wallowing in his misery right now, and I have still sympathy for him. But he is burdening his daughter and painting me an absolute villain. He still hasn't told her about the new baby, and honestly, I'm a little at a loss at what to do about it. Now for the 4-day update. Hello, I have been reading all the comments on the original post and tried to answer as many of the questions as I could. I wanted to write an update since my post seemed to raise some questions, and also to thank you for your engagement on the post. It has meant a lot to me. You have given me good advice, some really good things to think about, and some tough love and criticism I surely needed. Thank you so much. The divorce is in process, and I have not seen him in person for some 4 months at this point. He mostly keeps radio silence until it seems he has to unload some hurt on me. I've kept my contact to him to a minimum, only ever messaging him in things regarding our daughter or requesting him to react to official paperwork or to his electricity bills that I've transferred to him. Due to the circumstances in which we started this separation originally, I paid most of his living expenses, mainly since I have a steady job and get paid double his salary. He is still very much incapacitated by his mental health issues, and I wanted to alleviate some of the practical matters for him. Now that we are pulling everything apart, he has been, maybe purposefully, making this into a very slow and frustrating process. Currently, I still pay for his electricity, and he reimburses those bills for me at the end of each month. Sometimes he needs encouraging. Usually this leads to him messaging me all day, usually complaints on how I'm now raising our daughter, now that I have made him obsolete, his words, telling me to get a new dad to help me with the job as soon as possible. He seems to try very hard to push my buttons by saying things like, "It must be very hard for you to send your daughter to someone who you loathe and hate so much. And if I make the mistake of losing my temper, even for one curse word, he will turn immediately and tells me to calm down, stop spitting acid, and maybe we should continue our discussion when I'm not so wound up." I have mainly chosen to not engage in these conversations if when they start going off the rails. I have all of his outbursts in writing. I'm also currently under the impression that the coworker is not interested in a relationship with him anymore. And all of those who asked, yes, the baby is his by his own word. He still has not told our daughter about any of it. I have chosen to give him an ultimatum on the matter. I will bring it up one more time when we have our official meeting with our child welfare officer next month, and if he still refuses, I will take it to myself to tell our daughter the truth. So many of you have encouraged me to do this for her sake and for the sake of our relationship, and I thank you for sharing your experiences with me. I have also contacted her school therapist and the curator and informed them of the issues she is facing now and the ones still to come. I'm hoping they will offer her some scheduled help since I know she is shy on telling me everything. She is the most important thing in my life, and as sorry as I am for her having to go through this, essentially because of my choices, I refuse to take all the blame now, and I'm ready to shift it where it belongs. Personally, I'm a much happier person these days. I feel bursts of gratefulness and true happiness these days just by watching her eat her dinner and talk to me about her day at the dinner table in our clean and peaceful home. Even my houseplants are thriving, as silly as it sounds. I have finally opened up about all of this to some of my friends and my siblings, and they have all been super supportive. And my siblings were clearly shocked, but both did bring up that they are somehow not surprised it all went this way. They seem to have seen things a bit more clearly from afar, just like this community did. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I feel like my daughter and me are going to be just fine in the end. Now for a few important comments. One commenter said, "I actually laughed out loud at the part where he told you his AP was pregnant, but he can't believe you don't want to fix the marriage in the same breath. Like, buddy, do you hear yourself?" I replied. Honestly, at that point, I had already made up my mind, and when I sat there and listened to his rant, I got the feeling that so much more was to come. When he finally told me about the pregnancy, I nearly laughed out loud myself. It was so absurd that it felt like the whole drama had been turned into a farce. Like people would never believe me if I told the whole story. And with that reaction, I realized that I really was mentally in a better place, one foot out the door and not ever going back. This was not my shoot show to deal with anymore. Another commenter suggested, "Stop paying the electricity bill. Stop being sympathetic or empathetic with him. Do not engage. You need to do this for yourself. You owe that to yourself." I replied, "My friends have also told me to just drop the electricity contract from my plan and have him figure it out. Logically, I know it takes one call for him to make a new contract. He gives me excuses I know are false, but since I also know how passive his mental health issues have made him, and how insurmountable small things can become, I find it so difficult to do this and go back on my word. There is also the fear how making our currently bad relationship even worse will inevitably reflect on our daughter and getting through all the legalities. I can't wait until it's all done and dusted." Now for the 3-month update. Hello Reddit. It has been months since my original post and update. People were very nice to me and offered me really good advice and lots of emotional support and needed criticism. I took a lot of it to heart and made good progress for my daughter and myself. I finally separated the rest of our finances, stopped paying his bills, and made official agreements on child support and custody, which remained shared for now as he went back on his word to give it to me uncontested. He did not agree to sign an official visitation agreement because he cannot commit to it right now. I offered him every other weekend and half of all holidays. He has started to meet our daughter more often, though, since nowadays she actually visits him on her own free will. It seems that their relationship has gotten a bit better lately, which I'm of course happy about. He has been absolutely terrible towards me, though. He started a campaign of passive-aggressive texting after I asked him to be civil. Now every message is overly syrupy and filled with overflowing apologies. I ignored this until he decided to talk to me face-to-face when we went to sign the agreements. He told me his therapist told him to talk to me for closure and speak his mind, so he did. He once again just explained to me how hard the last year has been and how I tore the marriage apart. How he was not ready to accept this divorce and never will be. How nothing in his current life is what he wanted or asked for, and considers it an insult if I congratulated him over the upcoming baby, etc. This felt really off, considering he just had moved in with her affair partner. He originally tried to hide this too and was evasive, but of course our daughter found out the next time she visited and also told me. I know it is pointless, but I felt I needed to say something too. So I told him that he completely continues to ignore all my pain and the mental work I had to do over this whole thing, and I can't help the fact that my love died in the process. He says I didn't even try. He said even my parents were more supportive of him because they had exchanged pleasantries having met briefly a few weeks prior. His coworkers were more supportive than me. I told him to look in the mirror and that his little passive-aggressive game was so obvious. Clearly, it hit home because he stopped immediately after. He has also been snooping over my dating life through our daughter and is very jealous, says so, and gets very verbally aggressive over it. Now, the thing that brought me back to you here tonight is that despite my life having turned so much better in the last few months, and me and my daughter have been happier than in a long while, I fell into an unexpected hole today. He was supposed to have her over this weekend, but ended up canceling. The reason he gave me was different than what he gave our daughter, so I knew he lied to someone. Yesterday, he blew up on me over texts that originally started as a discussion over our daughter's visits. He started the same old song of me being so petty over such a minor thing as his affair that was apparently not even a real affair at first. He wrote that my parents were right about me being too sensitive. He knows how low of a blow this is since he has been supporting me through my issues with my parents, invalidating all of my gripes my whole life with "you are too sensitive." I told him how low that was and that he does not get to quantify my pain, and he totally lost his marbles to the point where I had to stop reading his messages because I was afraid I would start to cry in the office. This morning, our daughter runs to me crying happy tears and jumping of joy. Her father had sent her pictures of the newly born little sister. I congratulated the new official older sister, and we gushed over the pictures a little. Throughout the day, my mood has just been awful. I've gotten messages from my family asking how I am, because daughter, of course, told everyone, which is totally okay, but it's starting to weigh on me. I have been tired and easily irritated. All of a sudden, I felt like I had no one to talk to, no one who would really understand, someone unbiased, an adult to talk to. Those have been my hardest moments in all of this. I lost my best friend when we fell apart, and whenever I feel like I really need to open up and spill my heart, it reminds me of how alone I feel. Is it a normal reaction? I have been fine and very emotionally cut off from him for so long, and somehow the birth of this baby sent me into this sudden nosedive today. I felt like I needed to tell all of this in my lowest point in a long while. So thank you for reading. 9 months later. Hello, dear Redditors. It's been a while since I posted an update, but since some people have reached out to me still, I thought I'd make one. Honestly, at this point, I feel the title no longer fits as I have realized my error, but I will keep it for clarity's sake. First of all, to everyone who offered help and advice, or just reached out to give a virtual hug, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I remember the last time I posted, I was feeling a sudden setback due to my daughter's little sister being born. My girl has been so happy over her and loves her dearly. I really hope the sisters get to keep their relationship no matter what happens with their dad. Most of my personal life is going great. I finally managed to save enough to buy us an apartment and have been busy renovating it. My work life is great. I really love my job and I got a promotion, which really helped on the house hunt. And for my siblings and friends, they have truly saved me and my mental health during this journey. I'm very happy where I am in life and have no real drive to find a partner. Sometimes I do feel that I'm maybe a bit too jaded and harsh still when it comes to love. I don't like that, but I guess it too will heal over time. All this hurts. My ex, as I get to hear after he hears these things from our daughter, he wrote to me that it feels like he was dragging me back and his absence has now allowed me to thrive. My ex-husband is not doing well. Of course, all I hear of him is what he tells me and what my daughter tells me in passing. We had to make a new child support agreement as the one we made originally had a fixed period. In that hearing, I got to hear a lot about his current state of affairs, and I have to say the new woman of the house is not playing around. She has made him pay all utilities and groceries and all miscellaneous household fixes, while she just pays her home loan. I was impressed. He did complain during the hearing that he barely has money for going to therapy as it is. And when it turned out that the child support had been miscalculated last time, state paid for him, he went into total despair over the amounts. He started messaging me right after the hearing and implied he no longer has money for therapy, and that I should know that he is the only breadwinner in the house, and that he will not be able to have her daughter over so much now since she eats like a horse, and he can't afford it. I reminded him she eats on the 26 other days of the month too, not just the 2 weekends she spends with him. This summer, he agreed to have her over for a few weeks during his holiday, because I agreed he wouldn't have to pay child support for that month. The situation is sad, and it's not getting better. The last straw for me came a few weeks ago when she was spending time at his place. He had already picked a fight a few days prior, but I had refused to engage, so he stormed out, meaning he left my last message unread for 3 days. The silent treatment I used to get when we were still together was exactly like this too. He clearly had been building up steam during those days, and then all of a sudden blew up my phone with message after message telling me how bad I was at this, meaning arguing I assumed and twisting everything I had said into a version that made me look like a total jerk. I once again refused to engage and told him that this no longer concerns me and he should find someone else to argue with. That angered him so that he swapped tactic and told me that he had shown our daughter these messages to prove that I am not so nice I pretend to be. That got me from zero to furious in an instant, though not for the reasons he implied. I told him that this was hands down the most selfish thing he could have done, and that this is his daughter he is damaging with this behavior. I told him I'm absolutely done with him, and I will not be in contact with him anymore, apart from issues directly related to our daughter and her matters. He then totally swapped personality, it felt like, and started with these really whiny, self-pitying, "Why are you being so mean to me?" messages that he then topped with "I still love yous" and other weird nonsense. I was no longer answering, so the last message he sent was to say that he in fact had not shown her any of my messages and that my sanctity was intact. I went to pick up my daughter the next day, as I felt really uneasy and really needed to personally be there. And maybe I could get her to talk to me during the car ride if he had been talking his truths again. And as we took a pit stop and had some ice cream, she quietly asked me to please don't take me away from Dad. My heart absolutely broke. I asked her why would she think that, and she revealed to me that my ex-husband had told her about our custody disagreements in the form of, "Mommy wants full custody." I explained to her that even if I had full custody, it would not take visitation if it was deemed to be good for her. She said she wanted her dad to be there for her school graduation, and I said her father has all the rights in the world to be at the school event, and all she needed to do was to make sure she invited him. And I know this will now work in my favor and not his. I have invited him to her birthday parties too, and he never comes. I haven't told her this. Now I made sure that she knows I'm not against any of this, and by making sure she invites him, he can now make his excuses directly to her. Part of me hates having to be in this war at all, but I feel like he leaves me no choice. A few days later, she asked me why I am so mean to Daddy. I asked her why does she think that, and she revealed that Dad had shown her some of my messages. So yes, his last message to me was once again a lie. Now, as many of you have been warning me, this is parental alienation and downright mental abuse on her. I called the local CPS to ask for advice on how to proceed, and if I should file a complaint on him and what would follow. My daughter has already been seeing the school counselor, and as she has now started in a new school, I will be seeking the same help from there too, for them to evaluate and refer her to therapy. I was told by the CPS worker that this will be documented and that I should weigh now the possible consequences. They are totally for me filing an official complaint. But as we have shared custody, what will follow is a session for both parties individually for a discussion and then evaluation on the severity of the situation. The CPS worker said that two things can happen. He takes it to heart because someone else brings it up, or he gets mad and makes our already strained communication even worse and possibly retaliates. Knowing him, it's the latter. They also told me that if I get more evidence on him manipulating our daughter, then I should just file anyway. Like I have mentioned before, all our communication is in writing, and I have saved all of it. So I'm currently torn between trying to figure out what kind of damage my poor daughter will have, the trauma of being cut from her father and little sister, or the trauma of being mentally manipulated against another parent and being used as ammunition in a war that is not her making. Whichever it will be, I know she will blame me, and that probably is my just punishment too. I failed to protect her. And to those who say I should not protect my ex and just tell her everything, it's not him I've been trying to protect, but her. She should not be in this situation. But I admit, due to his actions, here we are now anyway. He mocked me for being so naive that I really thought amicable co-parenting was stuff that people can do. Well, I sure as shoot can't do it alone. And children are very perceptive. She knows her father got another woman pregnant, as she puts it. But she is also being fed this weird narrative by her dad where I clocked out of that marriage years ago and was just pretending, and all he needed was a hug. But I turned my back on him and abandoned him like I abandoned my parents because I just couldn't get over it like everybody else on this planet could. All his words from his rant messages. And she does talk to me still, so I can verify he does really tell these things to her. So here we are, the good, the bad, and the batshit insane. All I hope is that can make the right decision for my daughter and that she could grow to be a healthy and happy adult. If that requires her to come to me one day and ask for me to justify the things I did and said, then I'm happy to have that conversation with her. Thank you, everyone, for your messages, support, and criticism. Now for a few important comments. Weary Yogurt Closet 9. He takes his frustration out on you because he can't do it to his new woman. She makes him pay all the bills, but when the two of you were together, you paid for most things. The crappy behavior that you entertained throughout your marriage, his AP refuses to. Hence, he harasses you because he can't take it out on her. Your daughter is old enough, it's time that you tell her the whole truth. Otherwise, he'll continue to fill your child with his lies, making you seem like the bad person. Also, get a co-parenting app to communicate through, so you have all the evidence you'll need if you choose to go back to court. And only communicate about your daughter, nothing else. And stop waiving the child support. If he has to pay a certain amount, then that's what he has to pay. You're still being nice to him, and he's still being a total butt towards you. It's getting better for you, and will be 10 times better when you start ignoring that fool. Am I the idiot for leaving my controlling mother and taking back my life? I am, female 18. I feel bad saying this, but my mom, female 34, often makes me feel like I'm the mother to her 7-year-old son, my brother. I am expected to make him breakfast every day. There isn't a day where she doesn't expect me to feed him. I even cook dinner and lunch. I have to help him with homework, reading, and chores. I want to enjoy life as a young adult, but I can't even do that. Every time I want to go out, she constantly reminds me I have a brother to look after like he's my son. It's hard because when she isn't home, he doesn't listen to me. He sees me like a maid because that's what he sees from his mom. His mom never corrects his behavior, and yesterday when my brother hit me and I lectured him about it, she laughed with him about the situation. I'm so tired and want to get out of this house, but part of me feels bad leaving. I feel like I'm leaving a lot for my mom to take care of. Am I in the wrong for wanting to leave, or am I just being too dramatic? I can't even tell if this behavior is normal because it's been this way since I was 10. I can't even get a job, by the way. She won't allow me. Calls me dramatic and selfish for even wanting one. She's admitted that she doesn't want me growing up or getting more freedom. She also won't allow me to drive. I can't do much because I live in a small town where the farthest stores are 30 minutes away. So I kinda need a car to get a job. I also was going to see family since my grandma paid for the ticket, and my mom basically told me I couldn't go because I'm expected at home to care for my brother over the summer, so I can't even work this summer if I wanted to. Now for a few important comments. Leave. Let mom deal with the life she chose. If she tries to say you have a brother to look after, say no, you have a son to look after, then walk out. You are being parentified. That's toxic. If your mom needs help raising him, she can ask his father or his grandparents or hire a babysitter. Unfortunately, we live 2 hours away from them. I hate you 1970 you. Then you ask dad to get you and live with him if possible and explain why. My dad got deported. We have different fathers. Big nefariousness. I had the same issue with my mom and younger siblings. I was basically a parent to them both from age 9. And it didn't stop till I left. I tried bringing it up. I tried saying it was unfair. I even had an older sibling who did nothing round the house, no chores or anything. It was all my responsibility. I just get told life is unfair or her parents were stricter with her, and this was just part of being a family. It's not. It's bad parenting and lazy parenting from your mom, and it won't stop. Because you're making her day-to-day life easier by picking up the slack and doing things she doesn't want to do or knows you'll do. It's totally unfair on you. At 18, you should be exploring the world, hanging out with your friends, enjoying those last teenage years while embracing the adult world before you have real consequences to deal with. My best advice is to leave. I don't know if you have other family you could stay with. Maybe start looking for a job if you don't already have one. Getting away is really your only way out of this. I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing that. That's kind of how it is in my household. basically do all my mom's chores as well. I really want to do more, but every time I ask, she tells me I'm selfish for going. Okay. You really don't need to ask. You are a legal adult. If you can move away with a family member and get a job, do that. Don't let her guilt you. It's one thing to help out your family sometimes. It's a whole other thing when they make their kid your responsibility. It's not. You are not wrong, but this is not going to change until you move out of that house and take yourself completely out from under your mother's control. Unfortunately, your brother is too young for you to simply leave when you feel like it and put him at risk if your mother is not at home. Is there anyone else you can stay with to escape from this servitude? My aunt has been asking me to come with her, and she would pay for college. She knows how my mom is. I just feel guilty leaving her behind, especially since I help with my brother. Go with your aunt. Please don't feel guilty. You have been indoctrinated to believe that you have to help. You don't. Clearly, your aunt can see what's happening and wants to help. Your mom chose to have a child. You did not. You are not wrong. Your brother, no matter how much you love him and want to help, is not your responsibility. I'll ask her tomorrow. I just haven't asked since she recently had a baby. Last time she called me, she reassured me that her having a baby didn't mean she would stop caring. So hopefully she does let me. I just feel horrible leaving my mom. I feel like my duty is only at home. Now for the 2-day update. So a bunch of people told me the type of abuse that was parentification, which now does make sense. To people who said to get a job, I can't drive. My mother would take my phone. I can't explain how bad it can be when she's upset, but it's bad, and I'd rather follow what she says till I leave. So today I texted my aunt, who has in the past wanted me to go with her. We talked, and she said of course she would take me in. Agreed to help me follow a degree in criminal justice, learn to drive, and get a job. She agreed that what my mom was doing was wrong. I graduate next month on the 17th, and we both agreed my aunt would come for me on May 25th, which is the day I'm leaving. I have no plan on telling my mom. I will pack my stuff silently and leave quietly. I'm trying to find my passport, but my mom has hidden it from me. Hopefully I do find it. Thank you to everyone's support. Hopefully the plan goes through and I do end up leaving. Now for a few important comments. IC Advance 11108. Get your birth certificate and social security card too. I'll make sure to grab them the day before in case she notices them missing. Take photos of them though, in case she decides to hide them. Yeti's unicorn. After you leave, she will try to guilt trip you into believing that terrible things are now happening because you aren't there to help. There's a very real chance that she will claim a major medical emergency for either herself or your brother. Do not fall for it. These are some textbook emotional manipulation tactics that people like her use to regain control. She's a grown-up who chose to have kids. She doesn't need her 17-year-old daughter taking care of everything for her. She's capable of doing it herself, but just wants to make you do it for her. Reasonable coon. OP needs a lot of stock phrases on hand to deal with this kind of manipulation. That's a real shame. I hope you sort it out. Goodbye. I'm planning on cutting her off. I think it's for the better. I easily fall to her manipulation, and sometimes it's hard to do what's better for me. I get that. It's hard to break free after living under that for years. Some time spent no contact would probably be the best way to focus on your own well-being. She'll probably try everything she can think of to find you and force you to talk with her. Speak to your aunt about how the two of you can prepare to deal with that in case she tries to get to you through your aunt. And speak to your college admin to make sure they know the situation and can put safeguards in place to prevent your mom from contacting the school to sabotage your academics. All right, thank you. Hopefully she doesn't, but I could never know. Hopefully everything goes well, and in a few years, maybe I can reconnect with my mom again. Freeze your credit. This is one way she can try to mess up your life. Run a credit report as soon as you leave to make sure she hasn't used your SSN for anything, then freeze it. If she has used it, report it as fraud. You can unfreeze it when you need to. Get an IRS ID PIN for filing taxes so she can't claim you as a dependent next year. I am aware that she's been using my credit score. I found a couple months ago. I'm not sure how bad it is yet. Go to Credit Karma. There's an app. They offer free credit monitoring. It's free itself. There are a lot of tools on there that can be beneficial to you. Good luck. Now for the 1-month update. So I am officially leaving in 20 days, but these past days have been hell for me. I know the time is coming, but I can't wait for it to be here already. It's like my mom's getting more controlling as time goes by. My aunt and I have already found a job and called. We agreed that I would sneak my paperwork and leave. I'm having a hard time leaving my younger sister behind since my mom is also hard on her too. My mom has been threatening to take away my phone at 18 and expects me to come straight from school to clean and work around the house to the point where she yells if it's not done. I have no time to do homework and I'm failing a class. Everything else I have A's and B's. Even if I try doing homework, she accuses me of only being on the phone. Yesterday, she accused my sister and I of being in a secret relationship, which she has before. It's honestly so gross and disgusting. I just want to get out. The other day I wore shorts and she told me I would get R-worded. The shorts weren't even that short and it's summer. I'm constantly controlled and I can't wear makeup, dress the way I want, work, drive, or do anything. This is so tiring and I'm tired of my life. And she makes me feel like absolute trash. I feel so bad leaving my sister behind. She's 16. I feel so much guilt leaving her behind. I can't stop crying because I know I'm leaving, and I know she's going to get grounded once I leave. Relevant comments. Lisa knows best. Make sure you and your sister find a way to keep in contact. Make a plan for her to get out as well. What age is legal where you live? Could she go with you? I hate to say this because it's clear you love your sister, but don't even tell her you're leaving. Your mother may force it out of her. Contact Child Protective Services, CPS, or the equivalent where you live, and let them know what your mother is doing. She's sadly going to do the same she did to you to your sister once you leave. Good luck. Keeping a countdown for you. Make sure you have everything important to take with you. And if you have to sneak out a couple days ahead and stay with a friend if you can, so she can't try to stop you. Getting away from an hurtful relationship, regardless of who the relationship is with, is a very dangerous time. Stay safe. My hair is on fire. You're not wrong, and I'm glad you're escaping the hell that you've been forced to live in. I have a suggestion that might help your sister. I agree with everyone saying she needs a way to contact you. But if your mother grounds her and doesn't allow her access to any communication devices, she could literally be dying in that house, and you wouldn't know. If she's in serious danger and needs you to call 911 or whatever exists where you live to enter the house, by force if necessary, to do a welfare check, if it comes to that, she needs to be able to communicate that to you without any phone or other communication device your mother can take from her. So devise a way to communicate with her now so she has the info before you're no longer there to give it to her. If you can't risk telling her you're leaving before you do, when you leave her a message in a place that only she would find telling her how to communicate with you. You could tell her to use any window facing the street or any window you can view from a safe distance. You can either devise a short numeric code, 09, with different hapchas meaning different things, but is suspect that may be too much too quick. But minimum, she needs to know to put an X in any window she can access if she needs emergent help. She can write it on the glass, tape it to the glass, any way she can make a visible X in the window to let you know, call 911. Good luck, you're very brave. Now for the 3-month update. Hi, so it's been a while. I honestly have been so caught up in life that I forgot to update. I did make the hard choice and did leave. It was incredibly hard to leave my sister and brother behind, but in order to help them, I have to help myself. It's been a good month and a half now, and I have moved states with my aunt, found a job, starting college, and learning to drive. The amount of freedom feels so weird to me. I get to go out, have money, have a voice, and I'm not constantly watching over others. I I still talk to my sister and my mom hasn't changed. I don't know if I even still consider her my mother. Ever since I've talked to my aunt about my home life and learning to grow and get over trauma, and I'm going to start therapy soon to help with these. For people saying I should have called CPS, I have. CPS has been called 4 times. My mother was a foster mom to 2 kids, and both of them reported her to CPS. I reported her to CPS, and my own family has reported her, and nothing was ever done. My sister has told me, ever since I left, that my mom is telling people that I was a brat, dramatic, attention-seeking, and that she doesn't consider me her daughter anymore, which is fine because she never felt like a mother to me. I feel like my mom has damaged me. I have severe anxiety, can't look people in the eye, have a hard time with conversations, and an overall horrible self-image. I hope that going to therapy can fix these problems and I can just continue to grow as an adult. Relevant comments. Step 1 was getting out. Congratulations on that huge accomplishment. And it is huge, and you made it happen. Step 2, through infinity, is healing, growing up, living life. Don't rush things. Learn to live with the new normal, and then you'll be more and more prepared as the new normal changes and shifts as you grow and life happens. Thank your aunt because she deserves a ton of credit for what she's doing for you. Your responsibility is to yourself now. Hopefully you'll get yourself into a place where you can help your siblings, but don't let that be the biggest priority at the moment. Good luck. Congratulations on gathering the courage to leave. Now it's time to heal and grow. Don't rush into a relationship either. If possible, get on birth control also. Know that you are doing what is right for you. Tell your aunt she is a VIP auntie. Many hugs and love. Update me. Now for a few comments. Reminder, I am not OP. Do not comment on original posts. No brigading. See Rule 7. Am I the idiot for leaving my cheating husband after years of lies and betrayal? I'm going to try and make a timeline of events in our relationship for context. Met when we were 9, started dating at 12. Mind you, this was that middle school type of dating. He cheated on me when we were 15 or 16. At this point, we were on again, off again, which continued until we were 17. I got a full ride to a university across the country for athletics/academics when I was 18. My first and only semester there, I hated. I hated the team and the coaches, and I had no friends. He flew out to visit me, and we got engaged at 18 years old. He flew back a little over a month later, and we had a courthouse wedding. I came home after the semester finished. He was 18, and I was 19, when he joined a very difficult, prestigious branch of the military. He left for 3 months for training, which was difficult, but we did fine. He came back for a few weeks and then left for a few more months for school for his particular job. During this time, I would later find out, he signed himself up on Bumble and paid $50+ in upgrades for more swipes. He insists he never met anyone from it, and no conversations that he had were ever anything more than introductions. He also, again, I would later find out a few years later, spent over $600 at a strip club. He says he was pressured by seniors to go and ended up paying for a VIP room for one of his buddies because he got the room and then didn't have the money to pay for it, and my husband said his friend was going to get into trouble. That weekend, he would go up and down the coast, going to various clubs and another strip club, from what I've gathered. At 19, we moved states and got our first house together. At 20, he deployed. This would be a very difficult time in our lives, and even more difficult after he got home. He developed an intimacy videos addiction while deployed. I remember sitting on the bathroom floor at 4 a.m, refreshing one of his social media accounts, which I could see his following numbers go up about every 5 minutes. All corn accounts. He pressured me for pictures and videos, and I would feel guilty for not doing the things he wanted. And I felt like if I didn't, he was just going to find someone else to do it for him. He came home 6 months later, and we were okay, except I noticed after a few weeks that as soon as he came home from work, he would practically beeline it to the bathroom and shower for 45+ minutes. Sometimes I would even go into the bathroom after, and I could tell he dropped the bottle of lube on the ground and it was still slippery. Or I could see the ring on the counter from the bottom of the bottle. I did my best to ignore it until one day I saw a charge on our account for $30 to someone with a very interesting name. I confronted him, and he immediately looked away, took in a deep breath, brushed his hand through his hair, and sputtered out a quick excuse that it was his buddy's wife who bought them all lunch during work. I don't know why, but I said okay and left it at that. He got up a few minutes later saying he felt sick and went to lay down. I got a text from him an hour later saying he was sorry and that he developed a intimacy videos addiction over deployment, and he sent money to a girl for her premium Snapchat or something. He says he felt so guilty he didn't even look at anything, and he deleted her right after he sent the money. I realized that the day this transaction took place, he had bought me flowers. He has never done that before, not even on any special occasions. From here on, the dates get confusing for me. I don't remember what happened first or when or how far apart, but I'll do my best to include as much information as I remember. Sometime later, maybe weeks, maybe months, I woke up to a message from an old acquaintance on a certain social media. I think we were still 20 or maybe 21. I don't remember what exactly she said, something along the lines of, "I just wanted you to know, XXXX said this to me," or something like that. He had messaged her the night prior whilst drinking at a friend's house down the road that he loved and missed her. I wish so badly I could remember more, but for some reason I can't. I know she said something like, "You can't be saying this, you're married," and he said something along the lines of, "I don't care." I screamed at him to wake up, but he was still drunk. I told him I wanted a divorce. I locked myself in the bathroom and hurt myself because I wanted to feel anything other than how I felt at that moment. I don't know how much time passed. When he opened the door, he said he didn't send those messages. He said that he left his phone plugged into the speaker and his friend was using it to play music. He said his friend must have seen the girl's story and messaged her trying to get nudes. He even pulled out his phone with proof. A text conversation between him and his friend confirming that the friend had messaged her and said he was sorry. I don't know why, but I believed him immediately. I remember having the most euphoric feeling of, I don't know what the word is, but whatever you feel when you let out a breath you've been holding and say, "Oh, thank God." I'm getting frustrated writing this because I'm realizing how much I'm forgetting and I feel like I'm missing something. At 21, I think, shoot hit the fan. I think at this point I had gone through his phone several times and found internet history and links that he had clicked through one of his social media accounts to hundreds of different OnlyFans sites. One night, I went through his entire dollar account history since 2018 and found the charge for the strip club and Bumble. He said the Bumble charge wasn't him, it was a senior who used his card because his had gotten frozen or something ridiculous like that. I, of course, believed him. I don't know why. I can't remember at what point I found out that he lied about messaging the girl on social media. I think it was after I had looked through his phone again, and I found text messages between him and his friend that was the one who allegedly sent the messages. His friend said something like, "Bro, I can't even go to parties that your wife is at because she hates me lol," or something like that. But they both confirmed what I didn't want to believe. My husband had taken my phone, deleted the messages sent to me by the girl, and got his friend in on this elaborate story. I can't remember when I found out that he did in fact download and pay for upgrades on Bumble. I think I just knew at this point he was lying, and grilled him long enough that he relented. He said he never met anyone or anything, and he said during the conversation, "I only paid for the upgrade because no one would ever swipe for me," or something like that. I can't remember at what point we went to Legal on Base and got information to file for divorce. I'd never seen him cry before, besides one other time. After we got married at the airport, he cried so hard and he wouldn't let me see. Just hugged me and buried my face in his chest so I wouldn't see. He said he didn't want to leave, but he cried constantly after I told him this was it and that I had an appointment and paperwork filled out to file for divorce. I'd never seen him like this before. Constantly saying he was sorry, deleting every social media account he'd ever owned, crying at the drop of a pin. saying things like he will never marry again, I could have everything in our savings, he'd pay for me to finish college if that's what I wanted. I relented and we went to marriage counseling. He stepped up a lot. He was never on his phone anymore. Would keep his phone unlocked and face up on the table. Told me I could go through it anytime I asked. Promised to stop watching porn. He even started cleaning the house and making dinner before I got home from work. He stopped drinking with his friends. It was a complete 180 for a while. The issues started to arise when every little thing would trigger a panic attack. He couldn't hang out with his friends without me freaking out. He began drinking with his friends again, maybe a few weeks later. One night he wasn't home by the time he told me he would be, and I just broke. I ended up in the hospital, and it was just the start of this toxic cycle. He would do something that would trigger me, whether it be drinking with his friends or the occasional YouTube short. I would see in his watch history of a half-naked woman with her breasts out and bouncing up and down. I would scream at him and berate him and degrade him because I wanted him to feel exactly how I felt. I think marriage counseling eventually helped a lot. After the hospital, I finally got my own therapist. She was my best friend. I still text her to this day. I didn't have any friends where we lived. He worked with his friends every day, and every weekend they would all party. I didn't have anyone. My friends and family were back home. I'm shy and have really bad social anxiety and have always had trouble making friends because I can't seem to ever open my mouth when there's more than 3 people in the room. Whenever he would leave to go anywhere, I felt so alone. I think at 22, our marriage really started improving again. We went on vacation together and were able to work through a lot of issues, and we were able to communicate things we were feeling, and it was amazing. We both felt so heard, and we were able to find happy mediums on issues and relayed boundaries that each of us respected. I was 23 when I moved home a few months before his contract ended. He tied up his loose ends on the house and work, and he moved back home with me. He tried working a night shift blue-collar job, making good money, even more than he made in the military. But he hated it. He hated everything about it. He missed his friends and his job. His friends were his family. This was the first time I'd ever seen him truly depressed. 5 months later, he joined a different branch of the military. I didn't want him to. I wanted him to stay and have a normal life with me. I wanted to work normal jobs and have a family. He doesn't. He said he doesn't even want a family. I had started nursing school, and my best friend, whom I hardly ever got to see, had a baby. I finally had a group of friends and family I was able to hang out with every week. He left and got stationed in a different state, but only about 600 miles away this time. Far, but drivable. He came home for a visit after only a week of being there. We were doing good at this point, texting and calling a lot. A little over a month ago, he left to go across the country for a 6-week exercise in the desert. He didn't have his phone for most of it, but he was able to text me once over a week ago. He didn't text again after that until I messaged him letting him know that a pet of mine had died. He replied immediately. I've realized that he has had his phone, but just hasn't been talking to me. Yesterday, he texted me in the morning, letting me know that he was going to spend an upcoming holiday with an old military friend from his previous branch. And then the holiday after that, he wanted to go see his extended family in a different state. We've talked a lot since then, not about anything good. I've asked why he's pushing me away, and he said he's focusing on his goals. I said I felt like I was being put on the back burner until he was ready to acknowledge me and our marriage. And I tried to tell him he didn't have to be alone and that I would support him. He said, "You can't, though. You say you can, but you didn't support college or the CIA, so I kind of felt I should just do this alone and get rid of some of the negativity." And I realized he was right. He brought up college when we were about 21, maybe 22, and I actually scoffed at him because I didn't realize he was being serious. I didn't believe he could do something like that. He barely graduated high school. He went to 4 different high schools total, never getting above a 1.5 GPA. I tried doing his homework to keep him afloat, but he didn't care. I even got him enrolled in the same online academy that I attended, due to public school not fitting around my athletic schedule, and I had to do every class and every assignment for him because he would never do them. He ended up graduating from what you would call an alternative high school. After telling me he wanted to go to college, he then told me he was going to join the CIA. This was just unfathomable to me. I didn't know what to do because he wanted my support, but I also didn't want to lie to him and tell him I believed in him. I guess I still don't. And I feel awful, and I can't imagine the feeling of your spouse not supporting you unconditionally. I don't know how to support him in something I just don't think he can do. And now we're here. Neither of us want a divorce. Both of us know our relationship hasn't been the best. We both don't know what to do. I would feel so lost and empty without him. I've known him for more than half of my life. Our personalities are formed around each other. We talk the same, we have the same mannerisms. We experience growing up together and becoming adults together. I just want to add that these experiences I've listed were the worst times. We've had amazing experiences together. We have so much freaking fun together. He makes me laugh more than anyone else can. He knows everything about me and has been there for every important moment in my life. I'm absolutely terrified of the future. I'm scared to tell my family if we get a divorce. I don't want to be another statistic. I know we got married young. I know we are a military family. I know that. I know that most of these marriages ended in divorce, but I really freaking thought we were different. I don't want to start over. I'm almost 24, and I know that's still considered young, but I've known him for 14 years. I thought we would have started thinking about having a family together by now. He just wants to focus on his career and says he doesn't think he even wants a family. I don't know what to do anymore. If you're still here, thanks for reading. I apologize if I'm all over the place. I haven't ever shared all this with anyone. I'm embarrassed of my situation and feel at a loss at what to do anymore. I'm really nervous to read any replies because I think I know what they're all going to say. Now for the update. After over 1,000 people castigating me in the comment section, I wanted to sort of give an update and answer a few questions. First off, yes, I can in fact type like a jerk. I had every intention creating this post with anonymity, which obviously went down the drain as soon as I started typing. I didn't think this would get more than a couple thousand views and a handful of comments. I typed out every ignominious detail because I needed to see for myself everything in one spot. Someone said I must be exhausting to be around if I tell my friends and family all this. Well, you'll be happy to know that no one knows. I have never told any of my friends and family even a percentage of what has happened. That's why I ended up writing an epic. I wanted someone to know everything and tell me what to do because my brain has become this convoluted mess of I don't even know. I have made my husband out to be this strong, loving, endearing, charismatic provider, and I know why. I've spent my entire life wanting to be the best at everything. My dad's favorite thing he used to say to me every day after practice was second place is just the first loser. And I held on to that. I was the best. I was the best at school. I ranked number 1 out of my high school class of over 700 people. I have hundreds of medals and trophies. I did take second place at nationals one year, even though that doesn't feel like an accomplishment to me. I know it should be. But after dropping out of college and leaving behind a full-ride athletic and academic scholarship, I wanted it to be worth something. I never told anyone I left because I hated it and couldn't deal with it. I told everyone I got married, and he joined the Marine Corps, and I wanted to support him. I didn't want anyone to realize that I couldn't hack it. I wanted it to be worth it. And if I had marriage problems, or if I got divorced, it would have just been for nothing. I would have lost again. And I can't lose. I grew up hiding in my closet, hearing my dad scream at the top of his lungs at my older siblings because they averaged C's and D's in school. I knew what losing would get you. And I would not lose. My mom cheated on my dad when I was a kid. I remember waking up one morning to them screaming on the front lawn, my mom trying to get into her car to go to work, and my dad grabbed her arm and ripped her out of the car. They don't know that I saw that. They worked through it, if that's what you want to call it. I thought that was what you were supposed to do. I thought that marriage was supposed to be hard, and you were supposed to put every ounce of yourself into fixing your ups and downs. Many have asked if I want to live the rest of my life like this. Of course I don't. Who would want that? Why did I stay even after the first time? Well, starving people will eat anything. I have actually read every single comment, even the hurtful ones. You guys are jerks, and I needed it. I needed over 1,000 people telling me I'm a blind idiot to realize that marriage isn't supposed to be like this, and that I deserve better, because I do. I do deserve better. And for all those saying I'm not going to leave because I haven't yet, I will prove you wrong. I'm not going back anymore. I'm not going to settle. I had heard the phrase sunk cost fallacy, but I didn't know what it meant. I do now. Thank you to everyone, even the ones who believe this post was a creative writing assignment. It gave me a laugh realizing that my life and my marriage has been so bad that it's unbelievable. Last side note, yes, I did comment with my main account a few times. It doesn't even matter anymore. And feel free to shoot me a message and tell me I got this because I'm going to need it. I feel like I've been rug pulled near the edge of a cliff and I can't find my footing. I don't know where the ground is and when it will come, but I know wherever I land, it will be better than where I am currently. Now for the 1-year update. Hi everyone, it's been almost a year. I can't believe it's been almost an entire year. I don't think I've ever made an update like this before, so hopefully I do it right and it's not removed. I meant to update sooner. I really did. But I have been busy living my life to the fullest extent possible. I can honestly say I didn't even think it was possible to enjoy life this much. I have never experienced happiness like this. I'm honestly having a hard time putting it into words, how amazing my life has become. I filed for divorce, probably within 48 hours within making that post. Papers were signed a month later. Divorce was finalized 2 months after that. It was completely uncontested. We shared no assets, no children, thank God. It was actually a lot easier than I expected it to be. Honestly, the hardest part was telling my family, especially my mom. Everyone loved him so much because I, unfortunately, made him out to be so perfect. It was pretty much a slap to the face for her to find out. I felt awful. She cried for days, but she was so supportive of me. Everyone was so damn supportive of me. I turned 25 soon. I decided to get my nurse practitioner's license. So that's the track I'm on right now. I've made an incredible amount of friends this year. If I'm not working, I'm out having fun. I'm always doing something fun every day. I'll try to reply to any comments, but I'm so busy these days. I have truly begun to find myself, and I'm awesome. I am capable of so much, and I am brave. I am so brave. I did make one special friend from my original post, Bethany20300. Thanks to you and my best friend Katie, if you guys are reading this. Thank you for keeping me accountable and loving me unconditionally. I really didn't realize what a horrendous situation I was in, at least not until after I made that initial post and received so many eye-opening comments. Lots of people were right, though. I did already know the answer to my question. It's actually kind of weird thinking about it. It doesn't even feel real. Whenever I try to think about my life over the last couple of years, I can hardly remember anything. It's almost like I'm trying to recall a story that someone else told me. Anything that I do remember, I recall almost like I was a spectator or an invisible third person in the room. And I just think this poor girl and what she's going through, I can't even imagine how awful. It just doesn't even feel like it was me. My real life started as soon as he was gone. We don't speak anymore. We haven't really spoken much since December. One of the last interactions we had, he was upset about the divorce and regretted it, and then he proceeded to threaten that he would unalive anybody that I dated in the future. Yes, it's documented to the best of my ability. I don't think he would ever actually do anything like that. He hasn't even been back in the state this year. I think he's too busy. Last I heard through the grapevine, he got drunk, had a one-night stand, and got some girl pregnant. She wants to keep the baby. He doesn't. I think she even took a brick to his car and smashed the chute out of it. If I could give him one last piece of advice, it would be to start a savings account for this poor kid's future therapy bills, and to ask him if he ever realized that almost all of his monumental life mistakes have been committed under the influence of alcohol. But alas, it isn't my problem. He will never hear from me again, and I can say that with complete happiness and confidence. To everyone who said I wouldn't do it and that I wasn't capable of leaving, frick you and thank you. I did. I did leave. I didn't walk, I ran, I sprinted, and I didn't look back. Thank you, Reddit, for helping me save my life. To anyone who may be going through something similar, you can do it. I believe in you. If I can do it, you can too. The other side is brighter than you could ever imagine. All right, let's get started with the post. I, male 35, have been married to my wife, female 34, for 10 years. We have 2 kids together, ages 8 and 6. Recently, I found out that my wife has been having an affair with a coworker. I confronted her about it, and she admitted to everything. She said it started about 6 months ago, and that it was purely physical. She claims she still loves me and wants to work on our marriage, but I don't know if I can get past this betrayal. When I asked her why she did it, she said she felt neglected and unappreciated. She said I was always busy with work and the kids, and she felt like I didn't have time for her anymore. I admit that I have been stressed and preoccupied with work, but I never thought it would lead to this. I'm torn between wanting to save our marriage for the sake of our children and feeling like I can never trust her again. I've suggested marriage counseling, and she's agreed to go, but I'm not sure if it will help. I don't know what to do. Now for a few comments. One commenter said, "It sounds like your wife is trying to shift the blame onto you for her affair. Don't let her do that. She made a choice to cheat instead of communicating her feelings." Another commenter added, "Marriage counseling is a good step, but you need to decide if you can truly forgive her and move forward. Trust is hard to rebuild." Then OP replied, "I appreciate the advice. I'm going to give counseling a try, but I'm still unsure if I can ever fully trust her again." That's the end of the post and comments.